Hello everyone, today we're going to be doing a book review. And it's the beginning of April and I'm talking about a book about snow, so let's get started. Welcome back everyone. Like I said, today we're doing a book review on a Christmas book. I read the series. It's called the Heartbridge Christmas Series. And I read them around December because I always like to read books around the time of the month where the book fits. And when I read these books, there were actually five. I read all five of them. If you want to look at the review for those books, I just did like one large review on all five. And you can see it in my Instagram page, Walking Through Books. With this book, I actually discovered it after I read that series. I thought there were only five, then I find out that there's actually six. And because it looks like that's the last book in the series, I decided to go back and read it just so that I can finish the series. And actually, I wasn't going to do a review on this book because I figured that it was going to have the same layout. And it kind of does, but the characters in this book were so different and I fell in love with them so much that I ended up writing a whole review on just this book by itself. And if you go to my Instagram page, Walking Through Books, I actually have it there too. But this is the longer review, the one that I really put a lot of details into it. And I have it written down. I don't want to say too much because then I'll end up saying the things that I wrote down. So I'm just going to read it and go from there. So the book is called Merry and Bright. It's part of the Heartbridge Christmas Series, Book 6 by N.R. Walker. And I gave this book 5 stars. I read the Heartbridge Christmas Series during Christmas. There were 5 books in the series, so I thought I was done with it, and then I found out there's actually 6. So in the beginning of April, with Phoenix already reaching 100 degrees, I decided to read a book about Christmas, cold weather, and hot drinks. I was lucky that on the day I started the book, we got our first April rain. I did not expect that because here in Phoenix, you know how in other places they say it always rains around this time. Phoenix, not so much. So when it started raining, when I read the book, I was really happy because I said it was a sign that I was supposed to read this book. I'm one of those weird people. Out of all the books, this one was my favorite. I really connected with the characters, and I do have to get a little personal. I myself have always been an awkward person, and I put awkward like awkward person. I'm a collector. I like keeping notes of random things. I like things to be put in a certain way. I just thought I was weird, but I saw a video where on TikTok. And I just want to give a quick note. Every time I go on TikTok, I see something and they give it a name for it. And I go, I've been doing that for a long time. I had no idea it had a name. You know, like sometimes you think you're the only one going through something or doing something. And now thanks to TikTok and all the other platforms, all of a sudden you realize, oh, there's a whole other people that also go through it. And that's what happened to me. A short video that says, if you do things like this, you could be in the spectrum of autism. It really made me wonder about myself, and I wonder if I could be like that. I haven't been tested, but I wondered. Now, the video that I saw, there was one video where they said something like, what kind of autism do you have? And there's people that say, I collect this, I collect that. And I was looking at the video and I said, now again, I would like to say I'm not sure if this is right because you should never get your information from TikTok. But if it is right that you could be on the spectrum by doing certain things that make you go, it has to be this way, otherwise it feels like the whole world's gonna collapse. They say that is you being part of that group. And then it made me wonder, do I have that? And then I remember I talked to my mom about it and I told her, I think you have it too. Because my mom is also that type of person where she's like, I'm going to save this because I'm going to need it one day. Not right now, but I'm going to need it. And then she does it so much that it's like, there's things everywhere. And if then when you're looking for it, who knows where it is? And I told my mom, That might be also something. Maybe we all have it and we just didn't know. And like I said, I don't know. I didn't go to a doctor. A doctor didn't tell me. I'm just saying that if these videos where people say that that's what it is, where you do things like that and that's part of it, maybe yes. So I don't know. I'm back in the small charming town, now with new characters. Winter, yes, that's his name. This character's a newcomer who is moving to this town and is going to open a bookstore. Another thing I love in a book. So every time I read a book where somebody is an author, or they're opening a bookstore, or they work in a library, something about books like that I really, really love. And when I saw that this character, first of all, his name is Winter, and then I find out that he's opening a bookstore in this small little town, I think the book just, I wish I had read it during Christmas because it was so perfect, but I didn't. I read it in April. And then we have Deacon, the veterinarian who has always lived in this town. The story starts out a little sad when Winter accidentally kills a stray cat. He rushes it to the vet and he gets the bad news that there's nothing they could do about it. This is when he meets Deacon, the strange, quiet doctor. When Winter starts falling apart, Deacon doesn't really know what to do, so he quotes him a phrase. A bit odd, but later on Winter remembers where he read that. It's apparently from a Japanese poem book that he loves. So this is when we see that that's what they will have in common. The love of books, especially strange books that aren't really known. I really identify with Deacon. Then I find that, so when I was reading the book, I'm looking, because these books are written in a way, again, that I hate and love. I don't know. Sometimes I hate it, sometimes I don't. In this book, I didn't care. Where like every chapter is from the point of view of a different character. And sometimes I don't like it, sometimes I do like it. Most of the times when I found books like these, I have them in an audiobook. So it's easy to follow because the person reading the book, the narrator, does a really good job where they can change their voice, where we are listening to a story from this point and then from this point. And also sometimes they actually do have different narrators for each voice. And when I first started seeing this in books, I hated it because I didn't know why they were doing that. And you never see it in a lot of books where you would have like the story being told from this character and then continues with this other one and then continues with the other one. Like it's weird, and sometimes I don't like it. With this book, I didn't mind it. And when I was reading it, I really identify with Deacon. Then find out that he is autistic and neurodivergent, of course. So this is like I was saying, I was really excited about this book. I'm reading this character. A lot of the things that he's doing are things I do, and then I found that and I go, oh, so now TikTok diagnosed me, and now this book is also telling me what's wrong with me. Winter is fixing the bookstore. He finds kittens. He goes back to the bed. So the cat that he accidentally, I think he ran over it. He took it to the vet. They told him there's nothing they could do. They had to put her to sleep. They find out that he had kittens, and then he happens to find them in the bookstore that he's fixing up. So he rushes them to the bed to see if they're fine, if he can, what is he going to do to take care of them. He takes care of it. Oh yeah, and then so he takes them to the vet. He runs into Deacon again, the guy that he saw last time, and then they're thinking, what should I name them? Because I'm gonna keep them. I'm gonna be responsible for them. And I think it was Deacon that told them he should name them Mary and Bright. And now I'm thinking maybe I got that wrong, but I remember that they named them that because that was in the like the box where they put them in. That was the name, I think, of the old business. That's how they got the names. The kittens then become their way of communicating. Deacon starts getting strange emotions he has never felt before, and slowly we see him take baby steps to get closer to Winter. Winter finds out about Deacon, and while he is also interested, he is asexual. So that's something that he has and has to explain. And asexual means that he doesn't have a sexual attraction to people. Yeah, Like I should have written down, but I think that's what it was. So with Deacon, he has that thing where he doesn't like to get close to people because he gets overwhelmed by that, and he doesn't like people touching him. He likes things a certain way, and then with him, he's more of a, maybe he really has to get to know you for you to feel comfortable with him. So that's how we see maybe they're gonna fit in, because they both have things where everything has to go slow for us to get along. Through the story, we once again hear about the Christmas Cupid. So through all the Heartbridge series, we hear about the Christmas Cupid because all of the books take place around Christmas, and some way or somehow the characters fall in love, and there's like this legend of the small town that there's a Christmas Cupid that always strikes around Christmas, and somebody has to get hit by that arrow, and it looks like these characters are the ones that are going to get hit this year. I liked that the relationship between these characters was slow, and it also never had a conclusion in the sense that we see them as a typical couple. The author really respected the relationship and the fact that Deacon could never move fast because he is autistic. Unlike the other books where everything was fast and they had relations with each other, this one did not have that, and maybe that's why I like this book the best. My issue with the other books was that it had too much sex, and the book felt more like Christmas movie where the sex scenes should have just been a shot of the fireplace. Scenes like this can also be done in books. So one of the complaints I had about the other books was that because of the way they were described, I thought they were going to be, and it's not that I'm like I was going to use the word, is it prune, like somebody that goes, oh, I don't like reading about that, because I do read books about that, but I don't, it's very awkward to be reading them in public. That's the main thing. I picked these books to read them while I was working, and I just don't like listening to that stuff while I'm working because it's awkward. And I thought because these were like Christmas books, I thought they were gonna be tame, not too graphic with the sexual stuff, or maybe have one sex scene and then just do that thing where they do where you know what they're doing, but they're not going into descriptions. The other books didn't have that. They really had sex scenes. This book didn't have that, and that's why I think I enjoyed it. And then I know you're thinking, so are you also asexual or something? But it's not that. It's more like if I pick up a book for the purpose that I know it's gonna be that kind of book, I want to read it at home, maybe in my bed, not out in public, because I don't like to read. It's weird. It's weird to read books like that in public, and I don't like to do that. And with this book, I knew it might have that scene, and I was like, it's fine. I'll just skip through it if it gets too much. And I remember when it didn't have it. Oh, I remember that when I was reading the book, the way the characters were developing their relationship, I actually thought, when I was getting to know them, that if the author did do a sex scene like in the other books, it was going to destroy the book, because it wouldn't make sense for her to do that. And or maybe him, I don't know if it's a her or him. And they didn't do that. The author didn't do that, and I was really happy that they were really loyal with the characters and they kept the book in the pace that it needed to be. The back and forth was great. Maybe the whole freaking out over everything was too much, and maybe if you don't go through this you won't understand. But like I said before, I go through stuff like this and I had never seen it in a book, so I was happy to see it written down in a story. And what I mean about that was that throughout the whole book, maybe this is something that other people didn't like, was that there were like parts where they would send each other text messages, the other one would read it and wouldn't respond, and then the other person would freak out, like, what's going on? And I understood that, because that's how I am. I overthink everything. If something doesn't, like, if we're texting back and forth about something and then you don't respond, my mind always jumps to, there's something wrong. I send you something, you didn't like it, maybe you're angry, or what's going on, and then it turns out it's nothing happened. It's just you were just distracted, you did something else, and then you came back. But that's how I think, that's how my mind works. So when I was reading these books, I was going, that's weird, because I don't think I've ever read another book where they put characters like this. And I did read some of the other reviews and Goodreads about this book, and other people didn't really like that. And I'm wondering if maybe because they don't go through that, so they don't understand that this book needed to have that, because that's what people who, there are some people who go through that, and maybe they didn't understand it because they go, did the author just go too much in adding this? But I thought the author actually did a good job, because I go through stuff like that, where I think like that, where I overthink everything. So I really like the way the author did everything. The ending was great because they did become boyfriends, but the line was not crossed. They were still learning each other and just enjoying each other's company. We do get a very fast forward moment in the end when we do see Deacon wanting to kiss Winter, and they do, and it was perfect. Great book. I hope to find more like this. And like I said, the ending, we only get to see them when they both agree that they are interested in not just being friends, but actually being boyfriends. And then they tell their families are happy about it. And at the same time, we also get the backstory between Deacon and Winter. Deacon is the one that has both parents, and they're very supportive of him, and they've always been supportive of him. And Winter is the one that has parents that aren't really happy. I don't think they mentioned the father, but the mother isn't happy that he's like that. And that's why he actually moved to this town, because he's living with his aunt, who his aunt is really happy to have him, and she loves him the way he is. And then throughout the book, we see how Winter kind of feels like seeing Deacon having everything and having supportive family and having this town that supports him too. He gets that little feeling of, oh, I wish I had that. And it's like, it is a type of jealousy, but it's also like, oh, it's nice to see that some people had it better than me. And I think that's how Winter felt. And then when they found each other, they understood each other so well, because both of them had issues about certain things, that it ended up being such a great relationship and such a great coming together. And like I said, what I really enjoyed was that the author never rushed it. It was never like, all my books have this book has to have this. She let the story simmer. It wasn't boiling, you know what I mean? And then in the end, we do see them agreeing that they want to be boyfriends, that they do want to be closer to each other. And then there's like a part of the book where, I don't remember if it was a couple weeks, a couple months had passed, and then we get to see Deacon tell Winter that he actually wants to kiss him, and he wants to do it right now. And then they do kiss, and it was romantic, and it was just the perfect ending to the book, because like I said, the author really knew what they were doing. And something about this series that I wish they would turn them into movies, because I think they would be great Christmas movies. Like all of those movies that show up around Christmas, this would make a great book. And I was really happy with reading it. And definitely this book is, maybe the whole series, not just this book, I'm gonna read them again sometime, because I really enjoyed it. And like I said, the name of this book was Merry and Bright, by the Heartbridge Christmas Series, Book 6 by N.R. Walker. And I give this book 5 stars, because it was a really great read. I really enjoyed it. I enjoy the characters. And like I said, I never read a book where the characters are like that. And I'm wondering, are there any more stories like this? I'm definitely going to be looking for them. And thank you so much for listening, for watching. Tell me if you read this book, if you're interested in this book, if you're somebody that might say, I know what these characters go through, and I definitely am interested to read it and see. And if you have books like these that you want to recommend, I would love to hear about them. So thank you so much for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe and come back, because I have a lot more reviews. And remember to keep on reading, keep your eyes on the screen, and vibe to the music. Bye.